Let me share my screen. We're going to say the blessing for study, and then I'm going to turn things right over to our teacher. If you'd like to unmute, you can unmute and we'll say this blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed is the Eternal, whose mitzvot make our lives holy, and who commands us to immerse ourselves, to engage ourselves in words of Torah. Rabbi Leah Berkowitz is from Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. She's at this point, can I say longtime friend of La'asok? Has La'asok been around long enough to have longtime friends? Many of us have studied with her before. She's also teaching next month, January 13th, as part of our social justice series on the topic of argument for the sake of heaven, how to disagree constructively. And I'll just turn things right over to you, Rabbi Leah Berkowitz.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to learn with you today. And Chanukah, well, Chanukah is always on the 25th of Kislev, but Chanukah feels late this year, but it's never too early. And we were just talking about this, that there is definitely some holiday creep earlier in the month, and I think we should be able to take advantage of that too, because basically, the holiday of Hanukkah and all the other winter light-based holidays are here to, as the title of this session is, they're here to chase away the darkness. And we're dealing with a lot of darkness, so we're going to try to add some light as early as we can. So I asked in the chat for people to put in their favorite Hanukkah songs. I only got one, it looks like, but I like the reasoning. It's Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song, because he says Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock are Jews. So I think that's because of the Star Trek reference, but the whole song is kind of funny because it has this nice message of there's lots of Jewish people there are a lot of more people who are Jewish in the world than we maybe think about. We also have Al Hanisim, which is for the miracles, and that's a pretty traditional song. We're going to ultimately today look at a modern Israeli song, an Israeli Hanukkah song, but I wanted to give us a little textual background first, so that's what we're going to do. Okay. So the title of our session is We've Come to Chase Away the Darkness, and I had advertised this as Hanukkah as an act of hope. Oh, we also have Ocho Candelicas, so we have one in Ladino. This is great because we'll be cross-cultural. We have some of our Ashkenazi songs. We have a Sephardic song, and we're going to look at a Mizrahi song today. So that's an Israeli song and a Mizrahi song. So I originally called this Hanukkah as an act of hope, but I'm also calling this Hanukkah as an act of defiance, because as I was looking into some of this material, that really came through in a strong way. So first, we're going to just look at two traditional texts about Chanukah. So in Mishnah Torah, which is about the 12th century, which is Maimonides, we have, so as we're looking at these texts, we want to be thinking about what do they tell us about the importance of lighting the Hanukkah candles, and what obstacles did they face in celebrating Hanukkah, and how did they respond to them? So this is a very famous code of Jewish law. The precept of lighting the Hanukkah lamp is exceedingly precious, and one should carefully observe it in order to acclaim the miracle, ever praising and thanking God for the miracles which God has performed for us. Even if one has nothing to eat except what one gets from charity, one should borrow or sell one's garment to buy oil and lamps and light them. And by the way, this is the same commandment, this is the same instructions that are given for the wine and the matzah for Passover. So these are put at the same level, in that even if these are not luxuries, these are necessities. If you need to take charity in order to get them, that is okay. That is permissible and actually also required. Okay. And then this is from the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud. It is a mitzvah to place the Hanukkah lamp at the entrance to one's house on the outside, so that all can see it. If one lives upstairs, one places it at the window adjacent to the public domain. And in a time of danger, when Gentiles issued decrees to prohibit kindling lights. One places it on the table, and that is sufficient to fulfill its obligation. And I find this very interesting because, similar to a lot of Jewish texts, there's the ideal and the reality. And if you were to be in Jerusalem during Chanukah, you'll see not only candles in the window, but sometimes you'll actually see them on the doorstep in like a little box. They really take seriously this commandment to publicize the miracle. But here they're saying we really want, as much as possible, this menorah to be where where everyone can see it, where the public can see it, but also recognizing that sometimes there are going to be times in our history and our experience where that's not okay, where that's not safe to do. So similar to other commandments, we're supposed to live by them and not die by them. So we want to make sure that we are safe in our practicing of the mitzvot. All right, so looking at these two texts, what do they tell us about the importance of lighting the Chanukiah and how we might respond to obstacles in lighting the lights? Oh, yes, there was a request to access the texts. I'm gonna put that in the chat for you. There's a little extra material in there, so as there always is. Okay. So if anybody wants to come off mute. Oh, you said some of the screen is blacked out. That should make it better. Okay. All right, thank you for the feedback. Yes, Micah. Rabbi
Yeah, I'm just noticing maybe this is similar to what you were saying, but kind of the public nature of Hanukkah, that it's something that it's not just something you do in your house, right? It's something that you do for the world, that you sort of share with the world. And light's a really old symbol for lots of things, but I think especially in this dark time of year, that the idea of sharing light with the world is very powerful and probably not unique to Judaism.
Yes, so we have this idea of sharing the light with the world. We have in our tradition the idea that we are a light to the nations, but yes, that sharing light with the world is a big part of this season and also of this specific holiday. Other thoughts about what this tells us about what these texts tell us about the importance of lighting the Chanukiah? We have a hand. Oh, Merle. Oh, I'm glad you got in. Thank you.
It was a struggle. I don't know why. Anyway, it says that this is so important that if you have to sell something in order to buy oil, or in our case, candles, you must do it because there's a must in here.
Yeah.
I think part of it is to make the lighter of the light feel part of a tradition.
Yes, to feel part of a tradition. And also, you raised an important point. I'm not sure if it was intentional, that Hanukkah is not a biblical holiday. So one might think that it emerged later. It's a rabbinic holiday. So one might think that maybe it's less important. And a lot of times as Jewish professionals, we're trying to say Hanukkah is not as important of a holiday as people make it out to be. But here when we're not having that argument, we're saying these lights are so important that we're going to light them even if we have to sell something else, even if we have to be frugal somewhere else. Sarah, and then Rabbi Streifer.
Well, I was just thinking about that each of us is supposed to be a spark of the divine. And my sense is that we are now expressing that in a physical manifestation publicly and not just on a one-to-one basis.
Yes, publicly, yes, that we are trying to be a spark of light. Carol. Oh, unmute, please.
That was a thumbs up for the last comment. It wasn't a hand raise.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. All right. Yes, Rabbi Streifer.
This may be a bit of a stretch, but I'm associating the light of Hanukkah right now with wellness. And I think because it's cold and dark, and as you all know, I live in Canada, so it's cold here. And I just feel like I need light, I need warmth during this time of year. And I associate that with the, people get tired, people get sad, people get depressed during this time of year. And so I wonder if some of the message here is that being well, emotionally well, is not a nice to have, it's a need to have. That we need to raise people's mental health to the level of importance that we put people's physical health. So even it's just as important as food, having light. And I mean, truly, if I had only enough money for food or candles, I'd buy the food. But I wonder if some of the message here is that we need to be providing for people's emotional wellness as well as their physical wellness.
Yes, and I think there are two layers to the Hanukkah lights providing emotional wellness, because on the one hand, just like all these other holidays, this is kindling light in the darkest time of the year. We were talking before everybody came on. Basically, last night in Philadelphia, it was raining. The sun set at 4 o'clock. And I just got into my head that it was going to be dark forever. And I really felt that like all the way in my kishkas. And that is when we need most to be kindling light. But for us, light is layered with several different narratives about what the light means. And those are also stories of hope and defiance. And those are also meant to get us through whatever the winter is, and provide us with hope, both through the light itself and through the stories it represents. Yes, Merle. Unmute.
And that's the lesson that we learn in comparing the Hillel and the Shammai stories, that we increase the light because it is such a dark season, rather than starting with light and decreasing it.
Yes, and somebody might correct me on this who's more familiar with when the winter solstice is, but I believe that we're making the light brighter as the day is getting shorter and darker, and then after Hanukkah we'll get more of an increase in light. But yes, we don't want to take away the light, because can you imagine? I mean, I respect Shammai's opinion. It makes logical sense, but can you imagine at this time when we psychologically need this light, that we are diminishing it as part of the ritual? I think that would just, I feel like that would just be very, very sad. And I never really thought of it that way. I just sort of thought of it as, Shammai is like the literalist in the rabbinic tradition, and Hillel's a little more flexible. Yes, Jody.
Hi, yeah, maybe moving away from the light for just a moment. I home in on that defiance piece because I'm a person in recovery, and I've learned over time that sometimes I must be defiant. I spent most of my life in defiance, but now I know why. Now I understand much more clearly how to speak my truth, even if others disagree. I think that's the big takeaway for me, to have enough restored, healthy self-esteem and strength and courage to seek the justice we're supposed to seek, and to better know which battles I really need to fight to the death, or which I need to just be quiet about and write down my aggravation.
Yes, I think that's also an important thing. Maybe it might be a different lesson, but an important thing is to figure out which are the battles we want to go full Maccabee on, and which are the ones that maybe not as much. And I think I just invented that phrase, full Maccabee, but I'm going to use that throughout the holiday. So I like that you brought up defiance, because that leads us in. So I'm going to tell one story, and then hopefully we have time for also a song. So some of you might be familiar with this story of this menorah. So this menorah belonged to Rabbi Dr. Akiva Posner and his wife Rachel, and it is famous because of this photograph that Rachel took, which I'm not sure. Let's see if I can make this bigger. So if you look closely, you can see that there is a menorah. There's a Chanukah in the window, publicly, as the Mishnah Torah commands. And then in the background, you see a Nazi flag. This is from 31, excuse me. And on the back of the photograph, I don't know German, but this apparently rhymes in German, but I'm going to translate it for you. Death to Judah, so the flag says. Judah will live forever, the light answers. So this, I only came across this maybe a year or two ago, and it really stuck with me in that this is a symbol of hope and also defiance. And what's even better is, it was given in this moment that was probably quite dark for this family, and it survived, and they were right. This was something where in a very dark time, somebody said, we will survive this, we will get through this, and they did. This was the rabbi was the rabbi of Kiel, Germany, and they escaped to Israel, and many of their congregants also escaped to Israel, or obviously pre-statehood Israel or the United States. So that's his family. And then even better, this is a picture of the Chanukah in the modern day Israel with the photograph of the menorah and the Nazi flag. Let me move this. The menorah and the Nazi flag in the background. And there's another picture of the Chanukah. So, and I actually didn't know about this until I reread the story this year, but there's actually a poem that her grandson wrote. Her grandson, who is, I believe, named after, one second. Yes, named after, great-grandson named after him, named after the rabbi. And I'll put it up here because I can't seem to get it to go that way. In 5692, the menorah is in exile. It challenges the party flag that doesn't yet rule. Judah, die, it says, and grandma's rhyme responds in its own tongue, without despair. So the flag says, but our candle answers and declares, Judah will live forever. In 5770, the menorah stands in the window once again, facing the flag of the ruling state. The descendant Akiva, named for his great-grandfather, salutes through the window and lights the menorah. Grandmother, give thanks above and say a prayer that the Redeemer will come to Zion and not delay. So let's just take a moment to absorb that and react to it. And I see
This time I do have a question. Is
yes.
that picture available? Can it?
Yes, I will put a link in the chat. 1 second.
Thank you.
This is from the Yad Vashem site. So if for some reason you can't get it this way, you can look at it on Yad Vashem and just look up Posner menorah. So this is, so I think this is a story of, I feel like there are a lot of apocryphal stories about Chanukah as an act of hope and defiance. And this one is one we actually have some documentation on. So, wait, I hear somebody talking. Where are they coming from? Susan? Okay, can't hear you. All right, so I wanted to, I only heard this song for the first time this past year, last Chanukah. And this is an Israeli, a modern day Israeli Chanukah song. And I have a music video of it that I think maybe I'm not going to share all of so that we have some time to discuss. but I particularly loved this this song. And it was written by Sarah Levi Tanai, who is the founder of the Inbal Dance Company. So she lived in Israel around the time of statehood and also around the time of Operation Magic Carpet, which was bringing over Jews from Yemen. And she felt that she wanted to embrace Yemeni culture and Mizrahi culture, so Middle Eastern Jewish culture, which you can hear when we listen to this music. And so she created a lot of music and a lot of dance that reflected that. And this is one of them. So I'm going to read this for you. And then at the end, I'll play a little bit of the music video, but I want us to have a chance to talk about it. Banu choshech legaresh, beyadenu or va'esh, kol echad hu or katan, vekulanu or etan, sura choshech halashachor, sura mipnei ha'or. We've come to chase away the darkness. We bear light and fire. Each glimmer is small, but together our blaze is fierce. Flee darkness, go away night. Flee before the light. All right, I want to take a moment for us to react to that one. How is this song similar to, different from some of the Chanukah songs that you know? And what resonates with you about the song and its message? Rabbi Streifer.
I feel like I always have something to say. Happy for others to speak first, but since I'm the one with my hand up, this to me, the idea of light in the darkness is such an ancient need at this time of year. And Leah, you and I were talking before the thing started about how so many different cultures light lights this time of year, and then we give our own meanings to them. So we light lights for the Maccabees and others light lights for other reasons. But I think there's something very ancient, very primordial here about lighting light to dispel the darkness. And I appreciate this return to that primordial reason for our light festival. And truly, I also, a lot of the Hanukkah songs that, especially those coming out of Israel, are very militaristic, very nationalistic. And I don't always resonate with those. I don't always resonate with the message of the Maccabees. You talked about going full Maccabee, which I think is funny, but also I'm not sure I love the Maccabees, to be honest. They're just zealots. The Maccabees are, fomenting civil war between Jews. The Maccabees are intolerant. And so I don't like to sing about the Maccabees, but I like singing about dispelling the darkness. This speaks to Hanukkah for me in a way that a lot of the other trappings of Hanukkah don't.
Yes, and that is also, I feel like in a lot of Jewish text and music, there's sort of this tension between the Maccabees and the militaristic reasoning for Hanukkah, and then also this light, this oil that lasted 8 days. This doesn't mention either of those. So we have neither the Maccabean revolt nor the rabbinic understanding of the Chanukiah. We just have chasing away darkness. All right, Sarah.
What I really like about this is the notion of the communal and how important it is for us to act together. That, yes, I can light my small candle, but when I come together with others, we can dispel the darkness that surrounds us, whether it's political or social, whatever that is, we can together step into the light and create far more light.
Wonderful. Yes. Merle.
Well, the Hanukkah songs generally accentuate action. That's one. And two, action by a small group. And it doesn't matter how small you are. As Sarah said, if it turns into a communal action, then we're mightier together, whether it's physical strength or mental strength, than we are separately.
Yes, and that actually comes back to Rabbi Streifer's point that the story of the Maccabees is quite sectarian. And this is not as much. So this speaks more to unity. And one could think of it as, the Maccabees coming together, or the Jews coming together, or a small group coming together, but it could also be everyone coming together. Yeah. Other thoughts? I want to play a little bit of this song for you. And I want us to be thinking about, as we're listening to the song will probably go over our time. So you're welcome to stay, or if you have to go, we won't be insulted. I'm going to play the song for you, and I want us to think about what is the darkness that we're chasing away right now, and what is the light that we are chasing it away with? What is the light we need to chase it away? This is a group called Divan, which is run by the Mizrahi artist Galit Dardashti. And I hope you enjoy it.
Surah Choshech al Ashchor, Surah Mifnei Haor. Banu Choshech legaresh, beyadenu or va'esh.
So this is a 5-minute music video that I will also put in the chat, because you are welcome to. I think some of you might enjoy listening to the whole thing, but I wanted to just take a moment for people's reactions before we close. I definitely wanted to get us to the point where we see the protest signs, because I feel like that's part of the chasing away of the darkness. Yes, Merle.
I think it was interesting that the feminine name that appeared was Leora.
Yes. So why was that interesting? Just for those of us who
because
don't know
it's
the
a
meaning.
derivative of light. So yes.
Yes. Yes. Leora is my light. Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, I am so grateful to have had this moment of light with all of you today. I encourage you to look through the materials and learn more about the Posner Menorah, learn more about Banu Choshech Legaresh. You can also get it on Spotify. So if that's, you want to add that to your Chanukah mix, I have recently done that and I highly recommend it.
Thank you to Rabbi Leah Berkowitz. This is the Hanukkah song I needed this year. I didn't know it, and I'm so glad I do now. Thanks everybody for being here. We will meet next week. I'm going to be teaching next week, and then we'll be off for a couple of weeks during the winter holidays. So I wish you all to stay warm and have lots of light, and I look forward to seeing you one more time next week. Take care, everyone.